Thank you for having me. I'm not usually up this early in the morning, so it's good to schedule me now. So I couldn't skip this this conversation. Just by way of preface, as Kim mentioned, the work that we do at JUMP is really around innovation and growth, and that's something that's a little different from the experiences of folks in corporate citizenship or corporate social responsibility. And so I've spent the last day and a half kind of learning what it is that you all folks do, and it's been kind of a great education for me. And if I'm taking away something, it's that many of the things that you all are focused on and many of the traits for success that you need to do your jobs are very similar to the kind of things that folks who work in your organizations that focus on issues of growth and innovation do. That these ideas of innovation and citizenship are actually different sides of the same coin. And I remember 5 or 7 years ago, before the last innovation wave kind of ran through corporate America, that the folks would get together in rooms like this and say, okay, so what does this innovation thing mean? And how do we trick, coax, cajole, cheat our companies into doing what we know is right for them so they could actually do, you know, what will put them on the path to growth longer term? And what we saw was what we needed were people who were leaders of innovation who had equal parts idealism like Mandela and pragmatism like Machiavelli to actually cause this to occur. And that's very similar to the conversations I've been having with you all in the last day or so. So I want to spend some time talking about what those traits are that actually allow a company to grow and prosper, and one trait in particular, which is empathy. Now, I should start off with just a little bit of background on myself, and I don't want to bore you with a long biography, so suffice it to say that there's one thing that you need to know about me, which is that first and foremost, I am a capitalist. And I'm a capitalist in that I look at the world and I say that the system that we have, the capitalist system that we have created, is broken but is not wrong. And there are things that we can do to make it better, but ultimately there's something good in what we're trying to do. And this is a point of view that I didn't always have. For most of my youth, I had a point of view that said that corporations are big, bad, evil, lousy things. And I only changed that maybe soon after I left college. You see, I left Palo Alto and I went to work in Pune, India for 5 years. My family is Indian, which is why I have a high maintenance name that's spelled D-E-V and pronounced Dave. But at the same time, you know, in trying to spend time understanding my Indian heritage, I decided I needed to go there. You see, I was born and raised in Poughkeepsie, New York, but had never spent any time in India, and I figured that the best way to learn about India was to actually go and work there. So I worked there for about 5 years. And so this was back in 91, 92 that I went over there. And it was a really amazing experience because some of you will remember that that was just around the moment that India was broke, had run out of money, and then decided that it needed to fundamentally change how it did business. Having spent over 40 years saying that it didn't need the rest of the world, it woke up one day to realize that the rest of the world had figured out how to live without it. And trying to therefore say, okay, what can we do about this? You know, I was part of a group of people there who were really trying to transform how the country did business. And India, even to this day, is a pretty amazing place. Colors are just turned up all the way in a way you would never see anywhere else. Smells and sounds are just louder. I saw a movie review 6 months ago for Slumdog Millionaire. Anyone see Slumdog Millionaire, Shafa? Right? I saw a review in the New Yorker, and there's like, well, it's rather unrealistic, you know, how they've turned up all the colors. I was like, no, that's actually how it is. You know, put on sunglasses and enjoy the movie. That's how it, right? That's what the world looks like in places like India. And spending time there, something became very clear to me there, which was that the power of capitalism to create wealth was tangible, and you could see it before your eyes. I'll give you one example. I was there as a director of design, and I was trying to set up a product design organization. And one thing a design organization needs is some sort of modeling facility. So, how do we create kind of wood or foam models that we could carve of what are the products that we're going to make in the future? And we couldn't find any sort of modeling companies. They just didn't exist until we found one guy who was from a small village, and his family had been making religious idols for centuries, that generation after generation carved these wonderful elephant-headed gods, and that was their job, that was their calling. And they were intricate and complex. And so the control instrumentation that we needed to make was completely simple compared to what he had to work on. So he said, oh, yeah, I can do that as well. And the first time he came and spent time with us in our company, he had to walk 1.5 miles to get to a bus stop, and then he took a bus to get to us, and then he had to walk another 5 miles to get to our company because we were in this industrial park. And then we started working together, and the next year he was coming on a little scooter that he had bought based on the business we had together. And the year after that he had a motorcycle. And the year after that I'm told that he had bought a car, but I don't know because he wasn't coming. He sent 2 guys to meet with me then, right? Now, you can criticize, what we were doing for kind of enslaving him to the fossil fuel economy, and I think we should have had better options for him. But this was a very tangible notion, and that notion was the creation of wealth, and that the creation of wealth is in itself a very good thing. Now, when I mean the creation of wealth, that's rather different from just making money. And I think in America, where we have a lot of wealth, it's very easy to confuse these two things. But in other parts of the world, we can really see that there is a difference between making money and creating wealth. There's a difference between just kind of moving the numbers around on a page and actually increasing your standard of living so you don't have to walk 5 miles after a long bus ride. Right? And that creation of wealth is something that actually uplifts lives. And I know this is something that many of you all share, because in the time that we've been together in the last day or so, I've talked with many of you. And there's this idea that there's a reason why you work at large corporations. And it's more than just the idea, well, that's where the money is. Right? It's because you believe that actually corporations can potentially be a power for good. They're certainly a power. They just need to be steered in the right direction. Now, this is, perhaps a kind of different, take on the world than what I usually spend time on. You see, in my day job at Jump, we work with companies around issues of growth, which is about reinventing existing businesses or creating new ones. And that's for a wide variety of different companies, as Kim pointed out, many of whom are actually sponsors of this conference. But, folks who, across a wide variety of different industries, are looking to figure out what they should do next. Car companies want to know what's coming after SUVs. Cookie companies say, oh my God, we're not eating junk like we used to. We need to be all about health and wellness. Help me figure out what that means. Computer companies want to figure out how they can own digital entertainment. And so all of these folks are in the activity of innovation and growth, and they have very ambiguous questions about where they would like to go in the future. And we're working with them to help them answer those questions about how they can grow their businesses. And one question that comes up over and over again is to say, well, but how do we do this in an enduring way? We don't just want to grow, we want sustainable growth. It's not enough to simply, make investors happy for 1 quarter or 2 quarters. We got to get off this hamster wheel, and we have to do something that's actually sustaining. And so we get the question over and over from folks, which is like, what is that enduring source of growth? What is the difference between companies that are able to grow sustainably over time and those that don't? And what we've come back with after spending time in looking at the companies we work with, as well as case studies and other research that we've done, is that if you want to have that enduring source of growth, you need 3 things. And these 3 things are very similar to the traits that we've talked about in this conference, which is you need some amount of empathy, connection with the world around you, with other people. You need a healthy dollop of creativity, which is the ability to come up with fresh and new ideas. And you need a fair amount of execution, which is the ability to get things done.